to Katrina's Creations. This is the Wednesday edition. Today is a tutorial on how to do I-cord binding. Now, I'm going to show you a couple samples of it because this can be done on knitting or crochet. It normally is done on knitting, but it can be done on crochet, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But this is what I-cord binding looks like, or I-cord edging. As you can see, it is rounded. It gives a nice finished edge to a project, and it can be used on pretty much anything, on shawls, on blankets, which is what this is. It can be used on necklines, sleeves, anything like that. So this is my I-cord edging that I did on some crochet. So if you'd like to learn how to do it, it's very easy. It just looks very nice. And yeah, stick with me and I will turn the camera around and show you how to do it. Supplies you will need for doing an I-cord bind off or I-cord edging are going to be a crochet hook. It can be any size, doesn't really matter, whichever is going to be more comfortable for you. And a set of knitting needles. Now you want your set of knitting needles to match the size yarn you are dealing with. So in this case, for this tutorial, I am using worsted weight, so I am using US 8s, which is a 5mm knitting needle. So if you're using fingering weight, you're going to use a smaller set of knitting needles. So let's get started. First, I want to show you up close the construction of an I-cord bind off. And if you hear noise in the background, it is, of course, Cricket that's drinking water because the camera is rolling. Cricket's my little chihuahua, and every time the camera turns on, she decides it's time to take a drink. So here you can see an up close of an I-cord bind off. And you can see it is rounded. This is the back side. You can actually see here is where I picked up stitches, which I'm going to show you how to do. And the edge actually rolls. Now this technique can be used for knitted or crocheted projects, and I am going to show you how to do it. Now, one thing I do want to show you about a blanket, if you're doing something that has a corner to it, when you pick up the stitches, you are going to want to pick up, instead of just one in the corner, you're going to want to get about 3 so that it wraps nicely around an edge. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are doing a I-cord on something that does come to a point, that you want to make sure you have enough so that it doesn't pucker or cause it to roll. Okay. Now if you are doing a I-cord edging on a project that already has the stitches on the needles, so in other words the stitches are live, you're going to be able to basically just get started doing the bind off itself. You'll just be adding a few stitches on the end and then starting. However, if you were going to add a I-cord edging to stitches that have already been bound off, like this knitting here, or to a crocheted project, you're going to need to pick up stitches and put them onto the needles. So that's the first step I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually be demonstrating on some crochet, but the same technique is going to apply to crochet or to knitted. So the first thing you want to do before you begin is make sure your work is the right side facing up. So you want to make sure the right side is facing you. And I'm going to be doing this in 2 colors I would not put together normally, but I think it's bright enough that will show up, the technique will show up a little bit better. So I'm going to just make a small slip knot like that. And I'm going to have my knitting needle. You are going to begin on the left side and work your way to the right side. Now if you're working with a project that is circular, or if you're going all the way around the edge of a blanket, you will just start at a beginning point and work to the right until you've gone all the way around. And you're going to pick up stitches. I'm going to hold this up here, and you're going to go through, pick up your loop, pull it through, and slide it onto the needle, and then just pull it snugly. And then we're going to go into the next stitch, going into both. Grab your yarn, pull it through, and put it over the needle, and you're going to continue this all the way along the edging that you will be putting the I-cord onto. I now have gone all the way across, and I am getting ready to begin my I-cord. Now the first thing you are going to need to do is cast on an additional 3 stitches. Now you can do this in a traditional way where you begin a knit stitch like this and then slide it over. You can do it like that. Or you can do a backwards cast on, which is just taking a loop, wrapping it, and grabbing it like this. So either one will work. Really doesn't make any difference which one you choose to do. You're going to knit the first 2 stitches. And you may be asking, why are you adding stitches here? It's because when you do an I-cord, you're actually looping the yarn around it. That's what causes the tube to form. So you have to have a beginning portion of your tube. So you're going to knit 2 stitches. So there's 1. And 2. And then you are going to knit the next 2 stitches together. This is where you're actually doing a decrease, because you're going to go from a total of 4 stitches to 3. So here you've knitted 2 together. So you now have 3 stitches. You're going to slide these 3 stitches back to your left needle. So you're going to slide them purlwise. You don't want to slide them like this. You want to slide them point to point. Otherwise your stitches will twist and your tube will not be smooth. Now, if you look here, here's your first stitch, but your yarn is coming out on the 3rd stitch. And it's this pulling motion when you begin knitting on this stitch that creates the tube. So I'm going to knit 2 stitches. There's 1. There is 1, and before I pull it tight, you can see here is that, right here is that strand of yarn getting pulled across. It's drawing these 3 stitches into a tube form. So you're going to knit 2, and then knit 2 together. Again, this is going to be your decrease. So you are binding off as you go. And there's knit 2 together. So you've now gone from 4 stitches to 3, and you're going to once again slide the stitches back to the left needle, point to point. And you're going to continue to repeat this. So you're going to knit 2 stitches, then knit 2 stitches together. This creates the bind off. and then you're going to slide all 3 stitches back again. Now let's take a look at what's happening here. As you can see, it is starting to roll slightly. And once again, here's our first stitch, but here's where the yarn is coming out. So when I do that first stitch, this yarn is pulling across. So it's drawing these 3 stitches together, and that's what forms the tube. So let's do this a few more times. One and 2, and knit 2 together, and slide all 3 stitches across. And knit 2, and knit 2 together, and slide all 3 back across. Now you're really starting to be able to see this tube that is forming. Now I'm going to continue going all the way across here. If you want, you can knit along with me, or you can pause the video and I will show you what it looks like when I get to these last couple stitches. Alright, I have gone all the way across except for the last 4 stitches. I'm going to show you how it kind of ends, but here you can see how it is rounded and how nice and finished it looks. So I'm going to do these last few so you can see how you would end this. So I'm going to knit 2 together, so I'm going to knit 2, knit 2 together, and now I have nothing left on my left needle, so I'm going to slide these 3 stitches back, and then I would just knit 1 and then knit 2 together, and then slide 2 stitches and just knit 2 together. Now I will say one thing that I do notice a little bit different between a knitted and a crocheted edge is this, the pickup stitches show a little bit more. So maybe if I did it the next time, I would maybe put 2 stitches in between per stitch instead of just 1, so it would not have this kind of look here. Because if you look at the knitted one, it doesn't have that. You can see my pickup stitches here are done in a green, so they do show up, but they're not as obvious as they are here. So that might make a difference if you're doing crochet. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you again on Saturday. Thanks for watching.